Jannah is a victim of the IRCC's cruel, inhumane, and heartless system, ignoring my repeated demands to bring Jannah to Canada before it's too late, even years, not only months before the genocide started.
And this mother, she's not doing it for her. Her daughter's gone. She's not coming back. She's doing it for the rest of everyone here.
Intifada وانتصار!
Intifada وانتصار! Gaza, you make us proud!
Gaza, you make us proud!
Gaza, you make us proud!
I stand here today because I want answers from Miller's office, not only about my sister's file that's been stuck for 3 months now after the program for Gazans was announced, but also to get answers about the stilled program impacting all Palestinian Canadians in this country.
Or with previous forms of oppression from other forces. So between 1933 and 1945, Canada accepted.
As you can see, this program is nothing but a joke that aims at sedating the public opinion and leaving the Palestinians in Gaza to the Israeli slaughter machine. The IRCC intentional negligence and inaction, along with the former PM David Lamity's disregard to Jannah's case, killed my Jannah in a cold blood.
Her daughter had cerebral palsy. There was no reason for the Canadian government to have postponed and delayed the application for so long. And yet her case is not the only one. There are many more out there, not just Gazans, not just Palestinians, from every country you can imagine. People are waiting and waiting and waiting, and they are given the same template response over and over again. We are processing your application, these are the wait times.
Ukrainians were given measures that I and no other immigration lawyer has ever seen before. They were given an expedited process. Some of them, from what I understood, had their tickets paid for, had their fees waived. Some of them had tuition at the same level as Canadian citizens. The list goes on and on and on. Employers getting subsidies to hire them. They were treated in a manner very befitting of how a refugee should be treated. And yet you haven't seen that experience mirrored with other refugees, and you have to ask yourself why. I can only honestly think of an implicit bias and structural racism within the Canadian immigration system. There is no other explanation. If we look at the conflict so far in Ukraine, since about February 2022, about 13,000 or so civilians have perished. Contrast that with Gaza, in which until now you've got about more than 33 to 34,000 dead, of which 13,000 and more are children and 90,000 plus are women, innocent civilians. And yet the Canadian government thinks it's completely fine to come with this outrageous public policy that caps applicants at 1,000 and does steps to make the process very, very difficult on families. What we're requesting, it's a threefold measure really. First thing is that the cap be removed. For Ukrainian refugees, there was no cap, and as far as I know, about 900,000 of them were admitted. Why are we putting a cap on Gazans? There should be no cap. That's number one. Number two, we need to expedite the processes. It is unacceptable that these people are languishing and dying, malnutrition, lack of medical care, being bombarded, and the Canadian government thinks it's fine to just put red tape upon red tape upon red tape and make them wait. The third thing we're requesting is the removal of the discriminatory policies within the application process.
Currently, there is this measure where they ask applicants for a plethora of information. All their WhatsApp information, every single application they've ever used. And to add insult on top of injury, what they say is that this information may and will probably be shared with Israeli and Egyptian intelligence. This could be very well considered a charter violation in terms of putting these people's lives at risk and security. Again, I would like to contrast it with Ukraine. Another thing that we're asking, that the government is asking from Palestinians, is that they have an anchor, which means a relative here that is ready to support them. That relative needs to go and fill out a form and have it signed in front of a commissioner for oaths and all these complicated maneuvers. Whereas with the Ukrainians, they didn't even need to have family in Canada, they could just come in. So again, why this double standard? So we're also asking for this requirement of having an anchor in Canada, and you know that anchor has to be very close family, to also be removed. Canada absolutely needs to respond to this horrible humanitarian disaster in a manner befitting of Canada's reputation on the international stage and of its humanitarian and international obligations. This is an absolute disgrace in front of the international community.
I can't imagine how her small, weak body kept fighting to live until she took her last breath inside that dark and cold church in Gaza City, under the sound of bombs, jet fighters, and drones.
Suivez-nous, frères et sœurs!